Sadly, I've seen that movie more than once too. So
what are you doing with your time? Hang on.
Right.
How do you have so much time on your hands that you can watch Ghostbusters 2016 more than once?
More than once.
How's that possible?
Just to make sure. It sucks as bad as it does. Welcome, everybody, to this month's edition of the Nerd Enthusiast Movie Podcast. I am Dane DeFeo, and I'm here with the man, Matt Morosi.
Cheers. And
our resident Ghostbuster expert, Anthony Ida Hoagie Sakali. What's up, Sakali?
What's up, man?
Nothing much, man. We watched Ghostbusters, and we're going to be talking about it. We're going to be reviewing it, kind of, just talking about the movie. Just a bit of a heads up. Yes. There will be some spoilers here, but we're going to leave that for a little bit later on in the show. So the first couple of minutes you can listen without us spoiling too much, and then we're going to get deep into the spoiler of it all. But before we start, just want to go over a couple things. First of all, if you enjoy watching or listening to us, however it is you're doing it, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Patreon.com/nerdthusiast. We always have stuff up there, and Patreon patrons can vote on topic discussions and get shout outs on our shows and get exclusive videos from everybody, from Matt on the video game show, Sakali on the poker show, and myself will probably go through them and not pay attention to them, but we will have suggestions. Finally, you guys can check us out on all the social medias out there. We have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Again, are we on Truth, Matt?
I'm working on it.
Okay, I just wanted to
coming soon. Coming soon.
I just want to make sure we had all of our bases covered, because I don't know where we lean yet. But we are at Nerd Enthusiast on all of our social media networks. Let's talk about Ghostbusters, man. This was one of the movies I was really excited for. That and Dune last month. We won't talk about that right now. Even though I did watch it again yesterday, actually.
So you watched a movie you didn't like twice.
It's still this.
Did you think it was going to change? Like,
yeah, I thought maybe
there was a director's cutout like 2 weeks later.
Yeah, well, it was. Yeah, I know. I couldn't get any better. But the other movie that I've been waiting for since the pandemic really started was Ghostbusters, and I devoured all the online stuff and knew kind of everything that was going to be in it, because everyone kind of knew a lot of stuff, and we won't get into spoilers yet, but we'll talk about it. I want to talk about what I think yet. I want to hear Matt's opinion on it first. What do you think, Matt?
My ecto cooler.
I was looking for it too. I couldn't find it in the store.
Cooler.
I have an empty can of ecto cooler. I should have brought it out. I have an empty can in my collection. Yeah, so I would like to hear Morosi's opinion first. I would like to hear an outsider's opinion.
Okay, so I am an outsider. I did grow up with the Ghostbusters. I loved the Ghostbusters when I was a kid. Didn't watch it for a long time. And then I knew we were going to cover this because Sakali is a huge Ghostbusters fan. So actually, when they released the first trailer, we did like a trailer discussion and discussed the first two movies. And I went back for the first time in a long time, and I watched the first two movies. They held up pretty well, especially the first one. The second one was all right. The first one was very good, though. This movie, I did not pay any attention to whatsoever other than watching the first trailer. I really don't like spoilers. I don't like finding out a bunch of stuff. So I did not dig deep. I didn't want to know. I'd rather not know, which is how I went into the movie. My expectations were like, hopefully it's a fun movie. That's where I was. Like, hopefully I don't waste an hour and a half of my life, which is about the runtime of the film. This is the most wonderful film I've seen in a long time. And I didn't have high expectations. If I did, it probably would have surpassed them. I couldn't believe how good the writing was. The actors were great. There's a whole list of reasons. Sure, there's some cheesiness to it. Of course there is. But overall, my impressions are you need to see this. And if you have kids, you need to bring them along as well. Your kids are going to love the film.
So I think, just throw out there, I did bring my kids to brought my kids to the theaters. They are Ghostbuster fans. and they loved it. So if you want another outside perspective, the kids were into it. So as a kid side of things, they bought into this film. They liked it. My son kept looking over at me, like smiling when something popped up or a new ghost was on there. Like, so he, on a kid side of things, and their friend was there too, and he loved it. So the kid side of aspect of buying into this film, it was there. They understood it. They got it. They're young. They're 7 and 9 years old, and they both understood what was going on. They comprehended it, and they liked it. Now, listen, I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. I'll dig in a little deeper, but there were some things that I didn't really like, but I will talk about that more. But yeah, that's cool to hear that, Matt, that you dug in and you liked it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was excellent in my opinion. Dane, you have been bastardized on this channel for a while, watching terrible movies. Even movies you're looking forward to it don't meet your expectations. So
Yeah,
what did you think about Afterlife?
This is the best movie we've watched for this channel.
There you go. Okay.
There it is.
All right.
Right. It's I would say it was a great, I wouldn't say it's like this isn't going to be like in the, you know, the Hall of Fame for like best films of all time. It's a very good movie is where I'm at. Are you about the same level?
Yeah. I wasn't disappointed in the movie. I really wasn't. I enjoyed all the stuff that they threw in to for me to really enjoy. I think there was stuff that actually I liked a lot of it. Actually, all the kid stuff was good. Some of it was kind of missing. Like there was a little bit of, they didn't really talk about the second one too much. The greatest movie of all, the 2016 Ghostbusters, they didn't even reference. I don't know why.
I was kind of hoping though, like, so this is not really a spoiler, it's a reverse spoiler, but I was kind of hoping that there might have been a scene where like the 4 girls were like in a diner or something in the background. They just kind of like reference them, but not like, obviously it's not canon to the whole series, but
right.
You know, it is a shame because we go on that a whole nother thing. But here's where I knew that this was at least going to be a decent film. I'm obviously a huge Ghostbusters fan. I was really looking forward to the 2016 film. Okay.
Mistakes were made.
I thought that the cast was great that they put together. I liked the director from his previous stuff. I was like, this is gonna be a funny ass movie. Right. And it just didn't connect. And people were like, oh, it's because it's all female. I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with that, because I loved all those girls in Bridesmaids.
Yeah, they're great actresses.
Yeah. Dude. And I left that movie as a huge Ghostbusters fan saying, like, that just wasn't it. And a lot of people were really like, that wasn't it. And then I left this movie and it put everything together. Like, it was like, that's the film that I was waiting for. Like, you know, is it going to win an Academy Award? No, but is it perfect? For
special effects were good.
No, you know,
it might win for that. Actually, I really enjoyed that part of that. Like I mean, I remember watching like the, well, all right. So we're gonna get into some of the spoiler stuff, but you know, some of the stuff at the end where they're coming out of like I don't know. I liked a lot of it actually. I'm excited to talk about this movie. So
here's a little. It's not spoiler, but the scenes where I read up about this. Which is cool, and maybe you understand more from the movie side of things. I don't understand how they did it exactly, but the scenes where like the pink, like I don't know what you want to call them, like they almost look like laser beams, like the ghosts were flying through the town, they were coming out of the mountain. You know what I'm talking about? And it was like if you watch the original Ghostbusters, they used like the effects from that movie and imported it into parts of this movie. So it was actually original effects, like 40 years later, that still held up. Now you could tell that it was CGI a little bit to the pink, you know, streams and stuff, but the original like shots or however they did it was from the original movie. I thought that was a very cool tie-in that they brought back into this.
Yeah, they kept it all. I mean, it definitely looks like a Ghostbusters movie. You know what I mean? It definitely, like, that was kind of one of the bummer things about the 2016 one. Not that we'll keep talking about that one. Was like the special effects were so big in it and so like cartoony almost. You know what I mean? You think about the end of that movie.
Yeah,
and how just like
it was all CGI.
Yeah, like I mean, it was like a typical. It was like not even like a Marvel movie. It was like I don't know. It was just crap. It was just crap. This movie, even though obviously there's tons of special effects in it, didn't hang on that. You know what I mean? The special effects that they did, they were all really good. You know what I mean? The sound. How good was the sound in the movie?
Dude, I had to bring that up. Like, that was a mental note that I made.
Every time.
This movie sounded spectacular. I don't understand why it's that. why can't they do this with other films? Like, I don't understand why Ghostbusters sounds better than like anything I think I've ever heard before in film.
So
like, it's unbelievable.
I watched in the RPX, so I got the extra sound. The whole place was like shaking during certain parts, during the earthquakes and things like that. Like, really felt like you're in an earthquake. I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, the whole place was shaking. So Jason Reitman, just a little background. Obviously, if you don't know, he is the son of Ivan Reitman. Ivan Reitman did the first 2 films. And if you don't know, I don't know if you know this, Morosi, Jason Reitman was actually in the second film. He played a part. What's that?
I didn't know that. I knew he was directing this film, and his father directed the first 2, but I didn't know he was.
I don't know if you. So you just recently saw Ghostbusters 2, right? You just recently saw it again.
Like a year ago.
Do you remember the part when they go to the birthday party in the beginning? There's all those little kids, and the one kid comes up to him and is like, "My dad says you're full of crap."
Yeah, yeah, that was
Jason,
him.
That's Jason Reitman. That's Jason Reitman. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and so he took a lot of heart into this film, and so basically what happened was when the 2016 bombed, I think he pretty much approached the studio and was like, "Listen, I have an idea, I have a script, and I can do it for about a third of the cost. What do you say?" And like the thing about it is, Ghostbusters is like the biggest franchise of the 80s. It's like the top 3. It's like Star Wars, Back to the Future, and Ghostbusters. Like the franchising rights of the money they made in the 80s was like ridiculous. So for a company to like have this sitting on the shelf and they can't get something together to make money. So he came to them and was like, "Look, I have a script, I have an idea, I can do it for this cheap of a cost. What do you say?" Everyone else, like, bought in, and they said, okay, because after 2016 bombed and they lost money on the project, it was kind of looking like it was going to be the end. So he put a lot of heart and a lot of effort into like the sound, the music, the scenery. That was shot in a real town. It wasn't a CGI town. It was shot in Canada. That house they built for the film, and all the inside shots and outside shots were all shot on the same location, which is very rare nowadays as well. So I was digging in and reading a lot. But so all those farm scenes in the house, that was all the same scenery, the same house that they built for this movie, which I thought was really cool because you don't see that nowadays at all.
Yeah, that's really cool. I did have a question for you because I know at least one of you two are going to know the answer to this. I know that Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis wrote the movie. Do you know how much Ramis contributed before he passed away? Or was this like,
they didn't write. They didn't write this movie.
Jason wrote the finished product. There was
his name was in the credits though.
Yeah, so there's some ideas that were floating around for years. So he probably just took bits and pieces from them and then kind of done it, because they have been trying to get like a storyline together. They couldn't get the guys on the same team, and I don't want to say ironically, but maybe ironically, they were not going to ever do another film. They couldn't get on the same page. Actually, Bill Murray and Harold Ramis in real life had a huge falling out for many years after Groundhog's Day. Day on that movie, they fell out. They did not talk to each other. And then right before Harold died, Bill Murray went up there, made peace. And I think Bill Murray was kind of like, shit, like, I think he kind of realized that he might have missed the boat. So without going into spoilers, but you obviously know some of the things that happened. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But they've been trying to get this storyline together, and there was different pieces floating out there for many years, but they finally got together, and it kind of, put it in perspective.
Well, in a strange way, the death of Harold Ramis propelled this movie.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's kind of like ironic.
Yeah. It's and I tell you what, and I would really like to get into the actual plot of the movie, because God, that was actually my favorite aspect of the whole movie, was just bringing back Egon and the character of Egon.
Yeah, I think we got to throw the spoiler. We got to throw the spoiler.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So yeah, if you guys don't want spoilers, go away. Thank you for watching up to this point. You gone.
Right. That's been this month's episode. Forget it. We'll do it at the end. Let's talk for just a few minutes, because I really liked them opening up with Egon and keeping that character alive, in a sense, in the lore of it, and then using him to propel everything. He was the catalyst for the whole movie. God, that made me so happy, because because just seeing him and in shadow and stuff like that. And then like he dies in the beginning, and the way he dies with the terror dogs and stuff like that was really cool. That was one of those little throwbacks. And then his constant presence in the whole movie, not just metaphorically and physically, but also just everything that was being done was because of him and his plan and stuff like that. God, I loved. And then big spoilers at the end, he shows up. Cried a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say I literally started choking up a little bit, like when he comes in and the music stops and he grabs her hand. Like, dude, it was like it was a moment. Yeah, it was a moment. I was like, wow, this is like choking me up a minute here. Like, this is getting real. And you realize that the whole thing about him being an asshole to his daughter, it was actually just he had to get he understood what was going on, and he had this desire to like stop this whole thing from happening. And he needed to sacrifice everything to make it happen. It was just crazy. But it definitely choked me up too.
I tell you what too, and I wasn't prepared for it too, when 2014 I think he died, Harold Ramis died. And I remember hearing about that. That was one of those celebrity deaths that for some reason hit me, because having been such a Ghostbusters fan and watched the movie so many times, and kind of as you watch the movie, especially as a kid, you pay attention to certain characters and you really like Egon. You know what I mean? He's interesting. And just feeling actually in 2014, feeling terrible when I heard about him dying. So much so that when the other ones die, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Okay. When Bill Murray goes, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. All right. But just the fact that it was his plan and his everything. I loved everything about that. And having his family come in and stuff like that worked really well. That's what I mean. Like, and what killed the 2016, last time we'll talk about this movie. Please. One was the writing of it, and the fact that it felt so disconnected from anything else that anyone ever cared about with any of the previous two Ghostbuster movies, other than they're wearing proton packs and the song shows up every now and then. But in this movie, it really just felt like a really well written third movie.
Yeah,
like it really did.
Coming from a true fan, I will throw out a couple things that I did not like. One, I was holding out, and I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I was holding out that Rick Moranis was going to show up. I was
dude, I actually didn't think about that until like towards the end when they were crawling out of the creatures. I was like, shit, no Rick Moranis.
I was literally holding out. I'm like, man, I hope he makes an appearance. But he's out of the acting world, man. But what's funny is like he did a cell phone commercial like a year ago, like a random cell phone commercial
with Ryan Reynolds in it.
Yeah, and like I'm like, okay, he'll do it.
I think that was a Super Bowl commercial, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he I don't know, he just needed a payday or something. But I'm like, so he not having Rick Moranis, because he's such a a big part of those first two films, and so not having him, that kind of hurt a little bit. And obviously that's not on Jason Reitman. I understand that, like that's on Rick Moranis because he's not doing anything. So it's not like Reitman messed that up. So Mckenna Grace, who plays Phoebe, the main character, and podcast, I love that. I love the connection there. It felt so real and fun, and like you felt that connection.
It felt like the Goonies for a little while.
Yeah, it had that like
they did
childish kid feel to it, but like it felt fun. Like you felt like they bought in. Here's what I did not like: the whole Lucky and Trevor, that felt so forced. It felt like I got their parts, but it just did not feel like I can't envision them as future Ghostbusters. Whereas Podcast and Phoebe, I can see them being like teenagers doing something down the road in another movie. I can't envision Trevor and Lucky. Like I just didn't. I don't know. It just felt like it was a forced part. The thing about it was it like they tried to sell like maybe a love story, but it didn't really feel like a love story, right? Like because he's 15 and she's like 18. So that connection didn't really happen. And then Lucky's not really connected to Podcast or Phoebe at all. Like they don't really have any connection together. And Trevor and Podcast don't really have a connection together. And even Trevor as like brother sister, I really didn't get that much of a brother sister vibe there. Like it just didn't feel natural.
Well, they were just opposites, like Phoebe and her brother Trevor were just like they weren't like each other at all, except for the fact that he could work on a car. He seemed very uninclined to do anything, but he can fix cars. Like that was
I
one
kind of thought
problem
that
I had
way
with it. It's
too.
like this dude doesn't seem like he wants to do shit, but he knows how to fix a car.
As like a film together, I absolutely love McKenna Grace. I absolutely love Logan Kim, who plays Podcast. I think they're great characters that I could see develop into something in the future. Trevor and Lucky, I just feel like they needed to put an aspect in there, and it felt forced. That's all I'm saying. It felt forced. I think they're great actors as kids. I think they play great roles, but the pieces of the puzzle didn't feel like they fit together.
Well, the Trevor character, and the Phoebe character, they were able to find two people and make them look like Egon.
Yes,
which was very cool. You know what I mean? Cool. That was again, you felt like that was really the family stuff. I liked. The mother was okay. I thought maybe I can't figure out what the mother did for a living.
It doesn't matter. Paul Rudd was excellent. He was friggin' excellent.
He was good in it.
And that's what I was going to get to next was Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd felt like he should have been a part of this film as well. Like it felt like he felt perfectly into the role. A couple little spoiler Easter eggs. I don't know if you caught this, but me being nerdy, and then I looked it up and I was like, did I see this right? Yeah. So when he's in the store, you saw him get the Baskin Robbins. He's like, oh, sweet, Baskin Robbins. Remember that part?
The Nestle Crunch Bar coming out of the jacket.
Okay, well, hold on. Let me go back real quick because this is an outside Easter egg. This is not something people caught on to. In the movie Ant-Man, he works at the Baskin Robbins. When he's on parole, he works at Baskin Robbins. So I thought that was pretty cool of an Easter egg to throw in there. A couple other Easter eggs: the Crunch Bar, the Twinkies.
The Crunch Bar,
they were both linked in there. Dude, he put a lot of stuff that like really linked to the first movie that like I think a lot of people didn't see or understood, but just so much like attention to detail of just little things like that I noticed. Like for example, like at the end when you see the Marshmallow Men's like burning alive, like the same way the real Marshmallow Man burned alive.
Yeah, that negative film look that they did at the end of the first movie, which was a special effect, by the way.
Yeah, back then.
But yeah, that was cool. I really liked. That's one of my favorite parts. My favorite setting for the whole movie was when they were at the farm, because being in the house and stuff, there was little stuff, but when they finally find like his workshop down in the underneath the barn and stuff, and going down the fire pole was cool. Something else I really liked too, and I'm sitting there watching it going, because I'm looking at the cars in the movie, because and I'm seeing all these rust buckets, and it clicked like pretty quickly actually, and I'm looking at it going, they're all Cadillacs, or all the old 50s Cadillacs, and for a minute I'm like, why are they all? Because they all also look like Chevys and stuff, and I'm like, why is it? And I saw he had a Chevy shirt, the son had a Chevy 67 Chevy Corvette shirt. And I'm kind of looking at it going like, why would they be? And then I realized not only is he fixing Ecto, that's probably just one of that would be the only way that he could fix Ecto, because the cars are all, you know what I mean? That's it. They brought back, and speaking of Ecto really quick, they brought back the gunner seat from the cartoons.
That's awesome.
Which I really liked. Yeah, that was cool.
And another thing that came from the cartoon, and I don't have it, I thought I did, was the ghost that pops out with the eyeball first, and then the ghost comes into the eyeball. That part when it's like downtown, that's from the cartoon as well. That is a cartoon ghost.
That was a toy, wasn't it? I think I remember having that when I was a kid. Yeah,
and the eye popped out. So that was a little very cool Easter egg from the Ghostbusters cartoon. Now, another thing that I did not like, okay, I'm going to throw out my things. Slimer was not in the film, not at all, not even a guest appearance. Muncher was awesome. I thought Muncher is an awesome new aspect to this film, because like a lot of it did feel like, it connected to the first film. There was like the Terror Dogs and Gozer, and so a lot of it was like kind of a repeat. But dude, Muncher I thought was an awesome scene. Them chasing him downtown, like from like start to finish. I thought that was an awesome scene. I know you saw a lot of that in trailer, but even just seeing it like on the screen, it was a really cool shot. It was an original ghost. You kind of felt like at the same time you knew this was a bad ghost, but at the same time you're like, it's kind of cool though. Like the whole Slimer thing as well. So I really like that, but I was a little disappointed that we did not get a cameo from Slimer in the film. So I was a little bit like,
I think he'll probably show up in the next one.
I mean, they're already teasing that stuff. I liked Muncher because he served the purpose for the plot, because not just that he had to eat. Yeah, he had to eat open the weapons, and that was cool. But really, and that comes back to the writing in this movie that I liked. Ivo Shandor, he owned the mine, he owned the whole town. So him being an architect and creating things, he had to find, this is the plot of the movie and the lore in the movie. The reason why Muncher eats metal is because he's from there, and the special metal that they mine in the mine is how they conduct everything. So in a sense, if you put Slimer in the movie, unless he's eating metal, which he didn't do, you know what I mean?
That's
then you're
true.
gonna kind of have two big guys that kind of look the same and kind of serve the same purpose. So I understand. I miss Slimer as well, but he's sort of like a mascot at at that point, especially even at the end of Ghostbusters 2. He's just kind of hanging around the firehouse, and they give him like his own like, and Slimer, and he's like, "Hey, Slimer." You know what I mean? So if anything, it's sort of like you had to have somebody that they were going to want to trap, and you're like, no, don't trap Slimer again. He's fine. He'll be helpful. So I did miss Slimer, but I understood. I understand kind of why they didn't use him, because they needed Muncher. They needed Muncher. So,
but it was cool though. Like a lot of his shots, if you notice too, again, another attention to detail. I mean, it helps that your dad is the one that helped direct it and he's helping you go through it.
Yeah.
But like the scenes where like they would do a close up of the slime dripping down, like, you know, when they're walking through for the first time and they're seeing the slime, just like the original movie, like
in the library.
In the library, and you see that slime like slowly dripping down. Like that was like exactly like that brought you back. So a normal
what helped with that too? The music cues.
Oh, they were great.
Tons of all that stuff. Just the very first thing that the movie comes up after the logos was that music, and it was a little twisted because obviously we're in new times, but it was so good. It brought me right back to that music because it was in the library. It was in the near public library from the very first movie.
They did a great job with the scoring, the composing, and just bringing back to the original film and connecting it there. And just, you know, it played into the little like scenes that were building up there. Like, whereas if you're a fan, you kind of knew like, oh, this is from this part. If you weren't a fan, you still got a little bit excited because you were like, oh, this, you know, sounds good. It's playing along with it.
I want to give you guys my one negative take. I think I had like two at one point, but I'm old and I forgot what the hell the second one was. But I am so sick of green screen shit in films that it makes me want to throw up. When he was driving that car through the fields, I'm like, can you please, sorry, not just, not that, in a film. Like, come on, dude, it looks so fake. So fake. Do what we did in the 80s, man. Go hire a stunt driver to drive through somebody's goddamn field, pay them a bunch of money, and film it. Make it look right. Because the rest of the movie looked pretty good, but when he was driving through those fields, I wanted to throw up. I was like, this is disgusting. Like, this is awful. Looks like trash. That's
but you know what?
Problem.
But you know what, though? Like we were saying, it was a refreshing take to not have everything be green screen in the film.
That's true.
There was so much that was just like some scenario shots. A lot of that was, you know, shot on scene. And like I said, a lot of it was just, you know, put in perspective. Dude, you know what I really loved, and it was, dude, you know, obviously it's a huge marketing plug as well, but the Walmart scene, I absolutely love that scene.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was such a fun Ghostbusters like aura to it, and it just
Paul Rudd makes that scene though. He's strolling through Walmart like he's a fucking boss, man.
Yeah, he just got off a date, you know, like he thinks he's
right,
the man.
Right.
Like,
yeah, that's right. I forgot.
And he's bossing through, and he's getting his ice cream. I saw a joke online though, and it was pretty funny. It was like, I can tell this is fake though because Walmart never has their stuff stocked that much.
It's true. There were no people of Walmart either. There were a couple people in the background, but they're not the people of Walmart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it was
nobody was on a rascal, and this is the Midwest.
And no one had everyone had their clothes on. There was no like bellies hanging out or anything. But dude, I thought that was such a fun scene with the mini puffs and the terror dog.
I like that they came back too. That was cool at the end.
Oh yeah. That was very cool. Yeah, I really liked that. It was such a fun scene. Like everyone could see that and like really bought into that scene and was just like, it was a lot of fun. It had the flashback of like the feel of, you know, from the 80s movie when he's chasing Rick Moranis, you know, it had that whole feel to it, you know, as well. So
well, this was unlike like the not to go to a different franchise, but very briefly, when Episode 7 came out for Star Wars, I liked it. I still like it, but it played so hard on the old movies that I was just like kind of turned off by it a bit. But this movie, it played towards the first one, obviously, but it did it in such a smart way that it didn't bother me. Like I should have been bothered. I know that I should have been bothered, but I wasn't, which is surprising.
Yeah, I think it just tied everything together, just to those points. I like the Evo Shandor was brought into this film, and I love the fact that this dude like sacrificed building a town and a major building for this person, the Gozer, guy or girl. He like sacrifices everything, like builds this huge thing, and then she's like, just yes.
It's kind of, I was expecting it to be like really gross, and I'm looking at it going, I'm like, this is a kid's movie. Like for a second, I'm just thinking of like the what that actually is just the idea of someone getting ripped violently in half.
Yeah, in half.
It was like,
well, I think this movie pushed like the limits for kids. Like I think this would be like a really scary movie to give to a younger kid, but I think that's great. Like you need to install that sense of fear. Like, when we saw Ghostbusters, like there was an intensity to it, maybe not to the same level that this film had, especially because things just look more realistic now.
So there was like one scene that maybe like definitely was not kid appropriate. Well, there's a couple scenes, but one, that my son, I got to tell the story. So it was me, my girlfriend, and my two sons were going to the movies. My son's to my left, my youngest, he's 7. Okay. He's seen all the Ghostbusters. He loves Ghostbuster films. He's seen them all. He understands everything going on. So the part when I don't know who it was podcast or whatnot, and he goes and he turns to Phoebe and he goes, I think he boned your mom, right? My 7-year-old turns to me and he goes, Dad, what's that mean that he boned her? I was like, they dated. I think they went on a date. I think that's what that means. So, like a little more like 11-year-old humor, 12-year-old humor. So for the little kids, but he asked me, I was like, oh my gosh. But
there was a little Easter egg in that too. You remember when after they've been not abducted, when they've been possessed, and then they go to, I guess, have sex for the first time, and Paul Rudd is laying on the rock. You remember that?
Yeah.
That is a callback. It's a callback. The way he is, and I laughed in the theater, and I think I was the only person that got it because I'm looking at it going, Dana Barrett. That's
Bill Murray, right? Like
no,
Dana?
Not Bill Murray.
Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that was definitely a playback to that, and it's funny too because like as a kid, because I grew up in the 80s, it didn't click till I was probably like in middle school, the whole idea of the keymaster and the gatekeeper, right? Like, like that didn't click in my head till I was like, oh, they're totally banging. They got to bang to open this door. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so it doesn't click till you're a little bit older. But it was great that they brought that back. And then like, just the whole fact that Paul Rudd just kind of makes a joke out of it, like after it happens, and he's just like, it happened. So what? We're gonna deal with it, at the end. All right. So another part was this is brought up to me. A couple people they know I'm a huge Ghostbuster fan. I had a couple people reach out to me this weekend. One person said to me, he said, hey man, what do you think about me bringing my kids? They're about like 9-10 years old to see Ghostbusters. And I've asked him, I said, have they seen Ghostbusters 1 and 2? And he said, no. I said, listen, show him Ghostbusters 1. If he digs that, show him this one because it will flow right into both. He'll completely understand everything and watch that. Now, there's been some debate, is Ghostbusters 2 canon? Like, did it exist in this world? And the answer is yes, because there's 2 things that connected this movie to the second Ghostbusters. And they're very little, but they do. One is Ray's Occult bookstore. Mm-hmm. That wasn't in the first movie. That was only in the second movie when Ray opened up that occult bookstore. And obviously that's in there. You see the red phone from the first movie. That was the same phone from the first movie, that bright red phone that he picks up. You see the Ray's Occult sign. You see them mention that a couple times in there. The other thing was, and this was like a quick thing, and I want to go back and I'm going to watch it again in theaters, but the toaster from original Ghostbusters 2, the one that dances when they put the slime in it.
What? That was in there?
It was in there.
Where
it was
that?
It was in the farmhouse. I didn't see that. Yeah, I've been going back through stuff, and it was in the farmhouse, like in the kitchen or something for like a brief second.
That's awesome.
So those two things make Ghostbusters 2 canon for this universe. But you don't have to see Ghostbusters 2 really to kind of get this film. You could probably just watch the first one and jump right in. But it is cool that storyline, the second one, still does exist, even though they don't really mention it.
There could have been some
there.
pink ooze. I could have used a little pink ooze. It would have made me feel better, but it's all right.
Yeah, but yeah. So again, though, that it does make Ghostbusters 2 a very real part of this world. So it does do this. So
yeah, thinking about it, actually, I'm thinking like the parts of it. I mean, you could kind of skip it. You know what I mean? Not that you'd want to, because I like Ghostbusters too. But like thinking about it, like at the end of Ghostbusters 1, Dana and Venkman get together. And there's that thing between Egon and
Janine.
Oh God, Janine. Yeah. So, and because they don't bring up the Statue of Liberty or any of the like Vigo stuff, I guess in theory you could kind of see how people would think that.
I like, so they kind of kept it confusing though with the Annie Janine Melnitz part, Annie Potts or whatnot, because we do see her as a guest appearance.
You see her very early on too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so in the first movie, if you remember, Janine and like, if you watched it, Janine and Egon had that like sexual tension between them the whole film. But then in the second,
out of the
but then in the second one, she's hooking up in the scene with Rick Moranis. So now we see that like they did kind of get back together. She was helping him out, like just stay organized in life, and she had obviously moved across the country with them, so they were obviously kind of together. Even though she goes, I was his, like, want to say boyfriend or girlfriend, but she ends up saying like his helper or something, like she says, she drops in there. So they definitely were connected. Now, did you guys see both the after credits scenes?
I've seen one and I read the other one because we didn't stick around for the second part.
So the second part, Janine's back, and they show a clip from the original Ghostbusters that wasn't in the film, that Ivan Reitman, I guess, dug up, and it's a scene talking about a coin and hold it for good luck. And then we see Winston. So I guess obviously we should mention that obviously the other Ghostbusters come back.
The first scene before that, just so you guys know, it was like a funny scene between Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver with the cards from going back to the first movie.
So yeah, and so then we jump into that last scene. I want to talk a lot about that real quick. Was Winston? They're making Winston like almost, I don't want to say the Cadillac, but the person that's going to be running the show, kind of the way they sold it. So basically, he's become this rich, financially wealthy person that owns a bunch of companies or whatnot. And now he's kind of reflecting back at the end about like reinvesting in the Ghostbusters. And we see the last scene where he talks about, he's like, I'll take care of this. I'll get it back up and running. You see the scene of it going across the bridge, which was like a homage to the first movie when they're going across the bridge. Winston kind of looks like he's trying to reinvest into the Ghostbusters. So I don't know, like it kind of just opens the door for the franchise to continue.
The movie, you were talking about like the budget for the movie and stuff like that and how you were doing it. Like the last time we'll mention the 2016 Ghostbusters is
you said that 3 times. I'm sick of it.
I know.
The movie that just won't die.
I know. Sadly, I've seen that movie more than once too. So
what are you doing with your time? Hang on.
Right.
How do you have so much time on your hands that you can watch Ghostbusters 2016 more than once?
More than once.
How's that possible?
Just to make sure. It sucks as bad as it does. I like Peter Berg too, the guy that made it. So the budget for that movie was like 150 million dollars. This movie was half.
No, it was like 50 million. It was like a third of the cost. That was part of it.
But I mean, that's the point. It's like, from what I remember hearing about, like, I mean, they went like half, if not more, like you're saying. So the fact that they made so much of a better movie, and you know this movie is going to gross a shit ton of money, whether it's in the theaters or eventually on streaming.
It's already got
fortunately, I think we're going to see another one. I would really like to see another one.
It's just so we know, It's got I'm just looking at the opening weekend right now, and it looks like it's going to be about 50 million, which is pretty much what they put into the movie. So it broke even on the first weekend. So it's all gravy from here for them. So, that you'll probably see a good chance of that. Now, the question is, who do we see coming if they do a sequel? That's a whole nother podcast. But listen, Ghostbusters is a huge franchise. If there's money to be made, as we know in the movie world, they're going to make it. We just hope that we get another quality product. We don't get another 2016 throw together.
I want to jump back real quick. Just the thing you were talking about, that very last end scene, because it's not one that I seen in the theater. I had to go back and read about it because I had a feeling I might have missed something extra, but I was also tired. I wanted to go home because I'm an old man. Dane, you understand? Sakal, you also understand. Everybody understands.
Yeah, we're all right.
Yeah. But so I didn't watch it, but I did read up on it. So there were some key points that I noticed in this article. I'm actually glad I read it because I probably would have taken away more from it from the reading than just watching. So in real life, Ernie Hudson, he was really upset about the small role that he played in Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and he wanted a bigger role. So I guess in this movie, they had, like, in the original script, there was supposed to be a much bigger role for him. And obviously that changed and it wasn't in there anymore. So I have a feeling that in the second film, it's going to be centered not necessarily all around him, but he's going to be like a catalyst in that film that's like propelling everything forward. So he's buying the fire station. He's bringing back the Ghostbusters. His role is way more important than it's ever been in the first two films, which makes sense. The other thing that was important was, again, I didn't see this, but from what I'm told, the container that was holding all the ghosts, the Ghostbusters that was let out, there was a red light flashing, like there was like something bad is imminent.
Yeah.
So the next film will likely take place in New York with the fire station, with Winston definitely having like some sort of bigger role. And I'm sure the kids will be back at that point. And, maybe that's 3 years from now and the kids are a little bit older, which might make sense. They have to incorporate the kids at this point, though. They can't go back to the old men anymore. Like, they can be there as like a supporting role, but they can't be the main role anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they want. They want to transfer over to a new cast. But like I said, there's a lot of speculation. But I mean, it had a strong opening weekend. I think there's a really good chance we see another one. All the guys came back. The main guys, obviously Venkman, Ray Stantz, and Winston. They all make the appearance at the end, which is also like, you knew it was coming, but it was just like, it still kind of was like, oh, here they are, and like they had that comedy role. They played back on the lines of like, "Are you a god?" which is like a huge line in the world.
That was fun.
Even to this day, Ghostbusters fan, you say, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say, well, yeah. So that's like a huge Winston line. And so when they played that in, they plugged it in. It was good. I like the throwback scene of Podcast when he's zapping all the mini puffs and he's covered in the marshmallows like Ray.
He's got the things on his head, and I remember.
Yeah, so there's just so much nostalgia to those scenes, and I like that the old guys were a huge part of that. Where it goes from now, who knows? I don't know, but
they need to take time and care, just like they put into this film. I don't care if it takes 5, 6, 7, 10. I don't care if it takes 10 years. They need to make it as good as this film was. Like, I know this film was like in all sorts of disarray multiple times. It probably had 17 rewrites.
Right.
But take the time and make it right. Like, you have something special again for the first time since 1980, whatever the hell the second movie came out.
89 was too.
89.
Please don't mess it up. You have an opportunity to make a shit ton of money. That's all somebody should say to you. They should walk in a room like, listen, we can't fuck this up. We're going to make a ton of money if we don't fuck this up. But they can easily, in the next movie, fuck it up. So don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, there's some, listen, the cartoon, I don't know if you guys ever watched the cartoon.
I did, but I don't remember anything about it.
Well, okay, let me tell you one thing about the cartoon without getting too much off topic. It's a scary ass cartoon. Dude, if you go back and watch some of this stuff, it's like straight nightmare feel. I'm like, I watched this when I was like 6. I'm like, this is so scary. Like, there's some real, I'm telling you, just YouTube some of it. There's some scary ass stuff in these things. I'm like, damn, this was a kid's cartoon.
I only remember the episode that Slimer went into the containment system.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, that was the only one I really remember.
But
if you want to terrify your children, make them play the NES game. Jesus Christ. They'll have nightmares for weeks.
That's a you and West topic for sure. But overall, like I said, I like the cast, I like the film. I had a couple of things that, whatever. Like I said, the Lucky and Trevor stuff, I didn't really feel connected on it. So I don't see them. I don't know if they're gonna really progress into the future films. I hope to God though that Phoebe and podcasts are a part of this Ghostbusters future. I thought they were great.
They need to be. And the you were talking about connections earlier on. I didn't want to mention it then, but I'll mention it now real quick. The connection between Egon and Phoebe is awesome because it was like almost like it skipped a generation where like, Egon's a super nerdy person and his daughter wasn't the same person. And now he has a granddaughter who's, not just necessarily like him, but she resembles him in many, many ways. And she's the only one that can really see him at first. She's the only one that believes enough that shit is happening. And when no one else does. So that was awesome.
Much like Egon.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and I just thought her role and her dry sense of humor and like just
the stupid jokes.
The stupid jokes fun.
Or so I was laughing out. Listen, this is how you know you're a dad. I was just laughing out loud in the theater to these dad jokes, and no one else was laughing at certain parts. And I was just like the one joke one was like, "What is why can't you trust atoms?" Right? I think that was the joke. Because
because they make up everything.
They make up everything. Like I thought that was hilarious. That's a great joke.
That is a great joke.
But overall, I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like is it an Academy Award winning film? I don't, like you said, maybe some special effects might get in there.
Special effects or sound will definitely win something, I think.
Sound.
You might get one of those, which would also be awesome for the film to boost it. But it was just a fun movie. It was just a fun movie that was like not more than it needed to be.
Yeah, I think what it did was it played to the exact audience it was meant for, and forget about the Easter eggs as much as that's for people like us that really enjoy it. That's fine. Nerd! But your kids loved it. Yeah. No, but your kids loved it. Okay. Yeah. It played towards that. You had kids of a certain age, and that worked really well, as opposed to the 2016 one, which again, I don't know who that movie was for, but I mean, it just kind of shows you how you can make a really good and a really bad product with the same ingredients. You know what I mean?
That goes back to what I was saying earlier. Just take the time and take the care that's necessary to make another really good film.
Well, I hope we do see another film. I hope the franchise goes on. I mean, shit, there's like about 30 Marvel movies now, so we can get some good writers out there to get this story. There's so many storylines that could go on here. I mean, there's even crossover films you can make. I mean, there's just so much stuff you can go on. I mean, there's just so many great storylines they could go after, and I hope that this continues because obviously I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. But
let's get a bigger budget next time with no goddamn green screens. Let's just eliminate them completely or as close to completely as possible, and I'll be very happy. And bring in some puppets. Why the hell not? Let's bring in some puppets.
The Terror Dog, the Vincent Clortho one that goes after Paul Rudd was a puppet for a little bit of it, which I really liked.
That's awesome.
Part of it. Yeah.
Make it realistic, man. That's what I want to see. I don't want to feel like, oh god damn it, I'm watching a computer thing. Dude, if I wanted to play a video game, I'll play a video game. I don't want to see it in a goddamn movie. Like I just want to see a real movie, Sorry.
Yep. It's all right.
It's okay.
It's okay.
That has been this episode of the Nerdthusiast Movie Podcast, where we actually all kind of liked the movie for a change, which was good. Very weird.
Something terrible is going to happen now.
Yeah, it is. I know. I know. Ghostbusters End of the World. Bunch of. If you guys will please follow us on all of our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. There's more. I already said Instagram, Twitter. A lot of them. There's also nerdthusiast.com, which you could definitely check out and read all the stuff that's been going up there. Please support us on patreon.com/nerdthusiast. Helps a lot. Plus, you might be able to help us kind of point the direction of the shows and where everybody wants to see them go.
Yeah, you guys can vote on poll topics over there. You guys can, obviously you can messages and stuff like that. We'll respond to them. So if you like the shows, definitely support us over on Patreon. It helps us out.
And if you don't like us, subscribe.
Ring the bell if you don't like it.
That'll teach us. Okay. But that's been this episode for Ghostbusters Afterlife. Thank you guys, Morosi and Sakali, and check us out for the next one.
Take care, guys.
See you later.